Hello and welcome to my trading Zoom room. Today we're going to play with Microsoft Excel Math 1, building basic math formulas. And actually we're going to start with playing with patterns. I want to be able to see the different patterns that Microsoft Excel can do. We'll build some basic equations and talk about how to get it to look where we want it to be. We'll follow a pattern that we create. I am just going to go right into Microsoft Excel. I'm not going to, there's no files, right? So we're just going to go right into Microsoft Excel. So if you want to open your start menu and type it in, EX, or double click on your shortcut. So I'm in a blank workbook. And if you want to save this as your basics one or the math one class, you're welcome to. I'm going to throw mine away when I'm done, but change your zoom if you need to. And I am at the very top in cell A1. And I can tell I'm in A1 because the A is shaded, the 1 is shaded, and the name box in the corner says A1. So I know I'm exactly where I need it to be. I'm also currently in ready mode, right down here in my status bar at the very bottom of the window, it says ready mode. So in ready mode, in cell A1, I'm going to type the number 1. And when I type the 1, it will show up with the cursor blinking next to it, and my mode at the bottom of the window becomes enter mode. All right, so here in my enter mode, with my little 1 blinking, I'm going to press enter. It accepts and it moves down. I know I'm starting off real basic here, but it's important that we're on the same page. I'm going to come back up to the 1. It moved to the right-hand side. Why? Why did it move? Because it's a number. All right, so as we move through, numbers go to the right, text goes to the left, right? So it automatically sets things up for you. I'm going to push delete on the keyboard. It goes away. I'm still in my ready mode, still in A1. I'm going to type the number 1 again. Notice it's on the left side because I haven't accepted it yet. This time, instead of pressing enter, I'm going to click on the checkbox because the checkbox does 2 things. It accepts, right, and it stays here, whereas the enter key accepts and it moves down. So you get to decide. Let me delete it one more time and type in a 1. The keyboard equivalent of that checkbox is control enter. If you press control enter, it accepts and it stays on that cell. So the proper way to accept things here as we go through is as you type, you can type in a 1 and press enter. You could type it in and click on the check. You can type it in and press control enter. What I want you to not do is type something in and then click out of it, because the number 1 reason you're going to break your equations is by clicking out. And when we start building our equations, you'll be able to see why. But for now, right, try to remember to use the enter key. And if you want to use the mouse, use the checkbox instead. Okay, I'm in cell A1. All right, I'm back in ready mode. I've accepted it. And there's a little tiny square, that fill handle in the bottom right-hand corner. And if I hover my mouse over that fill square, it turns into the thin black cross. Do you see it? That fill handle box, if I drag it down, I'm going to go to the bottom of row 8 today, the bottom of row 8. And when I let go, we should get 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay. If it moved the 1, you were too close to the edge. You need to be right on the corner and drag that down. Okay. In the next column, I'm going to type in the word text, just like a textbook text. I'm going to come to the fill handle. I'm going to drag it down from the corner, and we should get text, 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 text. All right. Let's throw in a number, because something special happens when we play with text and numbers together. All right. So I've just a number, just continues itself. The text continues itself. It just copies over and over and over. But when I do a word and a number together, again, remember to grab that square. When you fill it down, it starts to count. Text 1, text 2, text 3. Ooh, what if I wanted text 1, text 1, text 1? Well, when you let go, even if you click off until you do something else, Microsoft Excel leaves behind a little tiny pop-up here, not the one with the lightning bulb, but the little grid. This is my fill handle options, right? That little square was my fill handle. This is my fill handle options. And I can tell it, no, I meant to copy the cells, and it will change for me. Now, if you have accidentally done something else, right, you can fill it down again and open up that little box, and you can tell it to copy instead. I'm going to go back to fill series because I liked it going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so then what? So we're just in a blank Excel file. So anyone who's joining us, if you want to play along, just open up Microsoft Excel and jump right in. Here in column D, I'm going to put in the numbers 1 again. Now, when I did the one here, just text 1, it started the series 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But when I did the one here, it just went 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Think like a computer here for a moment. If I'm talking about a thing, 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things, right? Automatically, boom, boom, boom. It makes sense if I have 1 thing, you're probably going to talk about 2 things, 3 things. If you do a number and a word, it's just going to sequentially move forward one at a time. But if I'm talking about a number, a true number, something that ends up moving to the right-hand side of my screen of the cell, that there's infinite possibilities. If you get a degree in math, it's not a degree of science, it's a degree of art, because numbers are beautiful. And I can go anywhere from this one. I could do 1, 2, 3, or 1, 3, 5, or 1, 1.1, 1.2, or 1, 0, -1. I could go anywhere. So you have to define for Microsoft Excel where to go next. So I'm starting off here in D1 with a 1. And then in D2, I'm going to put a 2. So Excel knows that I want to go 3, 4, 5. Because it's not just a word, this is a true number, something I can do math with. So I need to select both numbers. So again, aim for the center middle. I'm lining up underneath that letter D. I'm going to drag to get just those 2 numbers. When I let go, I get 1 border and 1 fill handle. And from here, I'm going to drag it to the bottom of row 8. And I should get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Woo-hoo. All right, I'm going to try it again over here with 2, 4, and again with 5, 4. So in column E and in column F, right, I'm typing in a new pattern. I'm giving it 2 numbers. Now, when I go to fill this down, if I get the same number all the way, it's because I forgot to grab both numbers. You have to grab 2 numbers so it knows the pattern. You can always undo. I want the 2 and the 4 with both of them selected, taking that handle down. The 5 and the 4, both numbers, and from the corner, bringing it down. I'm going to undo those because in fact, Microsoft Excel is clever enough to know that even if I choose multiple columns here or multiple rows, when I take that fill handle and bring it down, it's going to follow my pattern. Simple addition, simple subtraction, but by grabbing all 4 of them and to grabbing that corner, I get 2, 4, 6, 8, 5, 4, 3, 2. It's beautiful. All right, here in the next column, we're going to do that text 1 again. All right, so text 1. Make sure you accept it, use your enter or your check. And from that corner, I'm going to hover till I get there. See the thin plus sign? When I could drag it down, but this time I'm going to double click on it, holding the mouse steady, double clicking. Whoosh. It goes down as far as the previous column. So if this is the first one you've done, right? When I double clicked on that first one, it wouldn't have gone anywhere. It's looking at this column to figure out where it's going to be. If there were blanks in here, it might stop at the next blank. It may not fill all the way down. So, but if it usually picks up the whole data set and will go down as far as you need it to. All right, so I'll do it again. I typed in text 1, I accepted it. Now, I know some of you might have figured out that I can grab this handle sometimes when I'm blinking here. You won't be able to do it when you build your formulas. So get into the habit of accepting it with the check or the control enter so that you won't mess yourself up later. All right, once I've accepted, I'm going to fill it down. Gorgeous. I double clicked on the corner. Let me show you a reserved word. All right, here in the next column, and if you need to, on your window, just scroll over, okay? Here in the next column, I'm going to type in quarter 1. Quarter is a reserved word within Microsoft Excel. All right, we do budgets in a program like this. So once I've accepted my quarter one and I come to that corner and I double click or drag it down, it won't reach quarter eight like text did, right? If it's grayed out, it thinks you're in ready mode, right? Make sure that your cursor is blinking, right? So you might have already accepted it, but if your cursor is blinking inside that little button, when you hover over it, you'll see it turn color, okay? We shouldn't get text 1 through text 8. We get text 1 through text 8. Quarter goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? I like the enter key better than the checkbox anyway, because you're going to reach way over here to get that checkbox as opposed to just hitting the enter key. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Let's try the 3-letter abbreviation. If you reached quarter 8, you misspelled quarter. All right, so double check yourself. 1ST space QTR. 1ST space QTR. When you accept it, I want you to fill it down from the corner, double click or drag it. And again, we should get 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, only twice because I only went to row 8. Let's try just the ordinal 1ST. Here in J, give me 1ST, no spaces. And then try it again in K with a space. So first without a space, and then again with a space. To fill it down, you can drag or again, double click on the little fill handle in the corner. And I get my first, second, third, fourth. But if I put a space in here, I just get 1, 2, 3, 4 because it doesn't know what that is. Like I said, if you misspelled quarter, you're going to reach quarter 8. If you misspell this, that spacing is important. Okay, so I ended up with 1ST, 2ST, right? Is that one street, one student, one stop? So I get 1 sta, 2 sta, 3 sta, 4 sta, all the way down. Okay, let's try a smaller amount of math. I'm going to move over a little bit. Not month, time. Instead of quarters, let's go down to months. I'm going to do the month of June in my next column. And when I fill it down, look at that, July, August, September. So these are called custom lists, and your handout talks about the custom list. Today, I'm just working with what we have. Let's do AUG for August. And when I fill it down, okay, how about we do Monday? And fill it down. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and the 3-letter abbreviation, I'm going to do SAT, S-A-T. And I'm going to fill it down. Cool. As a general rule, Microsoft Excel is not case sensitive, right? So as you go through and you're doing your sorting and your spell checks and your comparisons, it's, you know, this equal that, it doesn't look at the space, the capitalization, uppercase, lowercase, it doesn't matter. So here, if I start in all uppercase, it's going to continue all uppercase. If I start in all lowercase, it's going to stay all lowercase, right? This isn't Word. It's not always going to autocorrect what you're doing, right? It's just going to follow the pattern that you set for it. And I want you to see that this is a true 3-letter abbreviation, right? This is not sept and twos and thir, right? This is sept, two, thoots. 3 letters, 3 letters, 3 letters, all the way through. If you start with the month of May, it thinks you want the whole word. So you might need to do May, June, and then fill down from that. Good. Any questions? Okay. Well, then let's keep going with time. Move over a little bit. I'm going to click on the clock down here in the bottom of my window so I'm able to see the calendar. This is not a Microsoft Excel thing, right? This is a Windows thing. And so I think tomorrow's a payday, maybe. So I've got the 12th and the 26th. I don't remember, there's no money left in my bank. All right, so I'm gonna do 12, 12. and 12/26. Right, I'm pulling those dates from here. And you could do 12/5 and 12/19 if you want. If you get paid on Thursdays, you know, pick a Thursday, type in the 2 days. That's what I'm looking for. And these are 14 days apart, right? So the 26th and the 12th, 26 minus 12 is, so this is a Friday to the following and the next, okay? I'm gonna select both of these because these are numbers, okay? All right, notice that they move to the right-hand side. So these are numbers, grabbing both numbers. And again, if I just typed 12/26, I could fill it down. But because this is a date, and I don't know why I did 2/12, 2/26. When I fill down, it gives me plus 14 days, plus 14 days, plus 14 days. We would be all the way down. What do you think? What about just one day? Let's put in today, 2/11. I'm not putting in the year, so I'm just getting 11-Feb. And when I fill it down, how cool is that? One day at a time. Let's go further in the month. How about I start with 2/26 and I fill it down. That's not just 11 Febs, 12 Febs. That's the 11th of February, the 12th of February. And again, if I choose a pattern of 2 numbers, it will follow me plus however many days, all the way through. Okay. Let's go a little deeper. How about 12/28/20, December 28th, 2020. That was a Monday, I think. When I put in the 20 this time, it changed it to 2020, stretched it out. We'll play with date formats in a little bit. All right, if I go back in time, right, to December, I'm able to see that December was, right, come on, baby. The 28th was a Monday. Right, it's going to be important here for a moment. When I fill this down, I'm going to see it wrap into January 2021, right? So it moves forward one day at a time. Good. And I want you to come to the little fill handle box, because if I wanted it to be December 28th all the way down, I would what? I would open this little fill handle options and tell it to copy the cells, right? And I would get the 28th over and over and over and over again. So I get the same day. I'm going to tell it back to fill the days. So I see it going back to January 4th. Let's try the fill weekdays. Now, again, the 28th was a Monday, right? The first was a Friday. And notice the second and third, my Saturday and Sundays were moved. I love that. That's something I really wish I had known early on, that I can actually remove the weekends just by clicking on this arrow and saying fill weekdays. Okay, let's change it to fill years. And there's December 28th for the next couple of years. How about fill months? All right, so there's the 28th of every month. Awesome. Let's come to the next column and tell it the last day of last year, 12/31/20. The last day of last year, 12/31/20. And when we come to the fill handle in the corner and we double click or drag it down, right, it gives us one day at a time. Change that to fill months for me. So there's a 28th of every month, right? So that old riddle of how many months have 28 days, all of them, right? But they don't all have 31 days. So as we come through here, what happened? This gave me the last day of each month. What if I had wanted it to be plus 30 days? Well, I would need to do like I did over here with this one. I'd have to place 2 dates together, and then it would be plus 30, plus 30, plus 30. But here, starting with the last day of a month and filling it down by month, you're going to get the last day, the last day, the last day. Woohoo. All right, let me move over just a little bit more. Got one more pattern for us to play with. I'm going to again type MON for Monday. Okay. I'm not going to fill it down. This time I want to fill across, and I'm zoomed in big enough that I think you're going to be able to see this. When I fill down, nothing seems to happen until I reach past the halfway point before it goes ka-clunk, ka-clunk, ka-clunk. The same thing's true filling across, but of course we're wider across, so it's easy to lose faith. As I take this fill handle, as long as you've got that thin crosshair cursor, that thin little plus sign, when you drag across, you got to get past the halfway point before it clunk. And that little tool tip, that screen tip pops up and tells you, do you see it? What day you're on. And when I let go, bloop, Monday through Friday. Any pattern that can be filled down can also be filled across. Cool. Any pattern that can be filled down can also be filled across. So I could put 2 paydays, select them both, and then get payday, 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 all the way across. I could put test 1 and then fill it, test 2, test 3, test 4, test 5, all the way across. Okay, feeling all right with your patterns? I want a new worksheet. So down across the bottom of the window, I'm going to click on the plus sign. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on mine. I'll go one more. So again, I'm just inside a blank Microsoft Excel worksheet. So you can be on a new book now if you want to, or down at the bottom, click on the new sheet, pop this up for me. And I'm going to put 4 numbers up here. In cell A1, I'm going to do the number 1, enter. A2, I want the number 2. Coming over to column B, and I want the numbers 2 and 4. So I'm doing 1, 2, and 2, 4. I'm going to select all 4 numbers. And instead of the double click, because it won't work right now, because there's nothing to match it to, right? The double click was going down to row 8 because everything else is going to row 8. This one you're going to have to drag. And I actually want to come all the way down to 10. Now, if you already did it down to 8, that's okay. Just drag, pick it up again, and just keep dragging. If you go too far, if you don't go far enough, we can come in and set this. I want to go 1 through 10 and 2 through 20. That's what I'm looking for. Or you could type them all really, really, really fast and make yourself painful, right? But you could only have to type into select and fill. Okay, let's start with our basic math, simple basic math stuff. Okay, I have here in cell C1, I want it to be 1 plus 2. So I'm actually going to type in 1 plus 2. And when I accept it, it says 1 plus 2. What side of the cell is it on? It's on the left. Notice all the numbers are on the right. So what's happening here? Well, you didn't know what you wanted, right? In Microsoft Excel, if you wanted to do math, you have to start with the equal sign. That's the trigger. That's the notification to Microsoft Excel. Calculate. That's what that means. So I'm going to instead type in equals. So calculate 1 plus 2. And when I accept it, it becomes a 3, right? The true formula, though, is actually up here in the formula bar. So in the formula bar, you see equals 1 plus 2. But on the worksheet, we see our result. Now, within the grand scheme of things, 1 plus 2 should always be 3, okay? If I come in later and I make this a 5, I'm going to have to come back in here and rebuild this equation to say 5 plus 2. And I don't want to do that. So let me delete this. I don't really want 1 plus 2. What I want is the contents of this cell to be added to the contents of this cell. Right? And this cell, when I click in it, I can see in the address box, this is A1. When I click in this one, this is B1. So here in cell C1, where I want my answer, this is where I want my answer, I'm going to calculate, and I'm going to type in the addresses, and it's not case sensitive. So A1, notice it turned blue, and I got a blue box. Right? If I kept going here, it would change it to a different cell, A1 plus, and I want what's in this cell, which was B1. And notice it's a different color. All right, so I'm typing in cell C1 equals A1 plus B1. And when I accept it, 1 plus 2 is 3. Good. Okay, so that's one thing I could do. Notice that it changed it to be all uppercase, even though I typed in lower cases. If you are somebody who wants to put spaces in here, that's fine. You just can't do it inside the address. Microsoft Excel doesn't care. You're slowing yourself down, but it'll keep them for you if it's easier for you to read. Okay, that's one way to build the equation, to type it in directly. Okay. The next way I'm going to show you is probably how I would do it because I'm right next to the numbers, all right? And I'm a big keyboard shortcut person. So here in cell C2, I'm going to press the equal sign to let it know I'm doing math. Then I'm going to look on my keyboard for my arrow keys. Now, before I push anything, double check your status, right? What mode are you in down in that status bar? I'm currently in enter mode. And I'm going to use an arrow key and I'm going to push up. And Microsoft Excel is going to follow me. The arrow keys are pointers, and it points to the cell above me. Notice what mode I'm in. Okay, I'm going to press the left arrow key and come down, and it's following me. Do you see that? I'm pointing to the cell I want. So I'm using my arrow keys to get there. And then I'm going to hit the plus sign. That puts me back into my cell. And now I'm going to grab the 4 with my arrow keys. And it's okay if you go the wrong way because it's following you. Just make sure you don't stay on the same cell, okay? So I have A2 plus B2, and I'm going to accept it. I'm going to do that again for you. This is equals left, left, plus left, enter. All right. Took a while because I talked through the whole thing, but let me show you how fast this is. This is really equal left, left, plus left, enter. Boom. So equal that plus that. So when you're, if you're fast with the keyboard, I find this the easiest way to build that, okay? But let's come to C3. If you really are new at this, or if you're a little hesitant about building these, it's okay, you'll get better, it just takes practice. That's not necessarily the best way. It's nice if you're comfortable with it, but I saved the best for last, especially if, I mean, if this was my budget and this was zoomed down to like 50% so I could see the whole thing, and I need this total and this total, trying to read what the address is or trying to use my arrow keys to get to it gets old really fast. So again, best for last. You can throw out everything else. We're going to build an equation again here in cell C3. And this time I'm going to use the equal sign to calculate. And instead of the keyboard where I typed in the address or I pointed to the cell, I'm going to use my mouse because this little cursor, that's my pointer as well. I'm going to take this pointer and I'm going to click in cell A1. And notice again, I'm in point mode and I'm pointing to cell A1. As I click on different cells in the worksheet, I'm pointing to those. And I'm coming here to this 3 in cell A3. And when I hit the plus sign, I can click here on the 6, right, to get that A3. I could do that 6, but that's not the one I want. I want B3 here. So in my mind, when I'm doing this, it's equal this plus that. And I can just point to it and say, I want this one and that one, and accept it. This is where the bad habits come in, right? So I'm just going to type an example. I don't want you to do so. I just want you to see that when I type with letters or words or text, and when I click out, it's fine. Even if I type a number, when I click out, it's fine. But if I build an equation and I click out, what happens? Yeah, it's following me. Do you see that? So you can't, I'm trying to get you in the habit. Instead, you would press the enter key or you would click on your checkbox to accept it so that it gives you that answer, because that's the #1 reason people end up breaking their equations is they'll go in and they'll try to edit something, or when they're building it, they get into that bad habit of just clicking out and they don't realize that, oh yeah, no, I have to hit enter, and they get the wrong answer, okay? This is equals this plus that, and either the checkbox or the enter. Good, okay. For the next 4, I want to do basic math, not just adding, all right? We're not going to add anymore. Well, the first one I am, but I want you to look on your keyboard, okay? And we're going to look for the numpad on the far right. If you're lucky enough to have a full one that goes all the way out, on the numpad, your 4 basic math functions are here. You've got your plus, your minus above it. We use the star to multiply, and the slash to divide. So on the numpad, if you have it, add, subtract, multiply, divide. You even have your enter key there, so you can be able to build no matter if the num lock is on or not, if the cap locks are on or not, if you hit the shift key or not. Those 4 buttons are always only those 4 buttons. Now the only place to find the equal sign is over by the backspace, and it shares a space with the plus sign. So I could do equal and then shift equal for plus. In front of the equal is the dash to subtract. Above the number 8 is your star, your asterisk to multiply. And under the question mark, the same slash you use for your web pages, // right? This is my divide. So I would like for you to add these two, subtract these two. Oops. Hello. I want you to multiply these two and divide these two. All right. So if you get a chance, right, equals this plus that. You can use your mouse or your keyboard, equal, over, enter, right? These 4 symbols, add, subtract, multiply, divide. Equals because I'm doing math. This plus that. Remember to use your enter key. Equals this plus that equals this times that equals this divided by that. And hopefully you got the same answers that I did, okay? So this one was adding, subtracting, I got it backwards, didn't I? Equals this minus that. That number looked wrong. There we go. This times that, this divided by that. Add, subtract, multiply, divide. And I could tell I had the wrong answer there, right? That was a bigger number than I was expecting. Because I'm taking a small number and removing a big number, it should have been negative. And if I'd done it backwards, or if I added, right, the numbers didn't look quite right. Usually you can tell right away when you're just playing with this and that. If it's this and that, this and that, this and that, we have a good idea of what our result's going to be. But if I'm playing with this, that, and the other thing, suddenly it becomes a little bit more complicated. So once upon a time in a math class, you probably learned the order of operations. All right, so the order of operations says anything that's in parentheses gets calculated first, okay? Then we do our exponents. And in Microsoft Excel, we use the little caret above the number 6. So if I wanted to say 4 squared, I would say equals, because I'm doing math, 4 to the power of 2, 4 squared. So that's what that exponent is. We use it in the Health Science Center and the hospital for BMI, height over weight squared, weight over height squared, that little exponent in there. And we use our multiply or divide, right? So left to right, whatever comes first. And last but not least was our add and subtract, okay? Very, very long ago, I learned this as please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, right? Please, my parentheses, excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You don't have to remember it that way. It's just how I was taught, okay? So this is important to us when we have equations like 2 plus 3, oopsie, Pandora, 2 plus 3 times 5, okay? Because multiplication is more important, it comes first, that answer is going to be 17. Does that make sense? Because the multiplication happens first. If I want the addition to happen first, I have to make it more important by putting it into parentheses. My stepmother used to send text messages and she would put our names in parentheses to kind of put a little, meant as a hug, right? Putting a little hug around it. So I'm trying to do that to make that portion more important to Microsoft Excel. So that one, the addition happens first and then it multiplies, okay? And you do have to put the little star in there. So if you think about this as, well, I want you to try it, right? So in the next 2 blanks here, Go ahead and type these in. But if I want the answer, what do I need? You need the equal sign, right? Got to put the equal sign in first. So equals 2 plus 3 times 5. And again, multiplication first, so we get 17. And then we do it with our parentheses. Oh, I know he looks sad. 2 plus 3 times 5. Parentheses, cradle that first. We get 25. Same exact numbers, same exact operators. The parentheses completely changes it. Now, if I wanted to, I could come in here and put parentheses around this as well and get the same answer. And, you know, if you might feel comfortable with math and not need it, but when this starts becoming more complicated and it's not just numbers and it's J22 plus L35 divided by Y17, suddenly it's a little more difficult. So parentheses are your friend. And unlike other programs, you know, when we written math, we do parentheses and brackets and then curly brackets and big parens. Here it's parenthesis, 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 parenthesis all the way out. Okay. Groovy. Now I don't need any of that. You're welcome to keep it if you typed it on your screen. I'm going to take it off mine for now. I got one cell left. I need this to balance. So I'm going to again put in today's date without the year. I'm just going to do 2/11. And when I accept it, it turns it into the 11th of February. How come it doesn't do the math, that horrible math of 2 divided by 11? Well, to do math, I need an equal sign, right? We have to say equals to put in the math, right? So once if I had said equal, yeah, absolutely, 2 divided by 11, right? So with the equal sign, it does the math. Without it, it sees it as a date. Perfect. That's what I wanted. I wanted the date. Okay. Now I'm going to show you something awesome. Not that all of this isn't, okay. I want to select column A. Now to grab column A, I can click on the letter A and it should pick up the whole thing all the way down, okay. When I do, something magical happens. In the bottom near your zoom, in the status bar down at the bottom near your zoom, it should calculate the average, the count, and the sum, right? You can move your zoom windows around if you need to see it or look at it on your own sheet. When you select 2 or more cells, so if I grab just a couple of them, it doesn't show up when you only have 1 cell, but if you grab a couple, it'll show you the average, the count, and the sum. But I want column A, so let me grab column A again by clicking on the A, and I'm going to put my $sign format on it. So either from the right click or the ribbon, click on the little $sign. And notice down there in that formula bar, that gets $signs too, which is cool. Let's take column B as in Bravo, and I'm going to center them just so they're in the middle so I have a visual separation. And I'm going to come back here to cell C1 where we built our first equation. I'm going to double click to see what this is. And I see the blue number plus the red number. Do you see it? That 1 plus the 2 to get that answer. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and accept it. So if I click the check or use one of my enters, it's going to recalculate and bring that $sign in with it. Had I hit escape or had clicked on the X, it would have just stayed as a 3. But because I accepted it, it recalculated, even though I didn't make any changes. So I could do that with each one of these, double click, enter, double click, enter, double click, enter. Let's just format the whole column. Give me all of column C. But it's something to keep in mind. If I had formatted my numbers first, it would have carried through to my answers. Column C, I'm going to click on the $sign. And, oh, okay. This $sign here puts it on the opposite side. There's a format called currency that puts the $sign next to the number. That's on that drop-down list, see currency. But I like the $sign here that's showing, that keeps it accounting. So my dollars line up separate from my numbers. Negative number got put in parentheses. These are all customizable. And my date became a really pretty number. Okay, 44,238 days since January 1st, 1900. That's what that means. Today, February 11th, 2021 has been 44,238 days since January 1st, 1900. Tomorrow will be 239, and then 240 and 241. We move forward one day at a time. If I made this 238.5 and I changed the format so I could see the date and time, I would get back noon today, because noon is my halfway point in a 24-hour clock. That's how we're able to do math with dates and times, because there is a number in the background. But for us right now, that's just a pretty number. So I want Excel to tell me that it's a date. So I don't want the whole column anymore. I want just this one cell here in C10. And on this one cell, I'm coming up to where it says accounting above my dollar signs. I'm going to click on the drop down, and I'm going to choose short date, so that it goes back to February 11th, 2021. That's not the number I had before. Before it was 11-Feb, right? So, well, let's go in and change the format. So a couple ways to get there, right? You can click on the More button here in the number group. You can right click and choose Format Cells, or if you're a keyboard shortcutter like me, Control and the number 1 on the full keyboard will open this up. All right, so again, you can click on the little More Numbers button here, right click Format Cells, or press Control 1. I'm on my dates, and I wanted the one that says 14 March. Now these all say March 14th, 2012, but look at the sample, right? Here's your actual date as you choose the different values. And I want the one that says 14-Mar to get back my 11 Feb. And when I click OK, poof, good. Okay, let me come back up here to cell C1. I'm going to double click on it again so I can see the equation. So if I wanted to look at the formulas, you can hit escape not to change anything. If I want to look at the formulas, I can see them in the formula bar. So looking up here at the top, as I use my down arrow to move through, I see my formulas. Or I can double click to see them because I'm zoomed in. I'll see them bigger here, and I'll see the colors. But if I want to see more than one equation at a time, because math is all about patterns, and it's good to see, is the pattern following me all the way down? It might be nice to see the formula view, okay? We're going to go to the Formula tab up in the ribbon, the Formula tab. And about 2/3 of the way over, almost near the end here, is a button that says Show Formulas. And when I click on the Show Formulas button, I switch to a formula view. Okay, keyboard shortcutters, Control tilde, that's above the tab in front of the number 1, Control tilde. Okay, but here in my formula view, I'm able to see all of the equations, but I've lost all my formatting. There's no dollar signs, there's no centering, there's no date format, but I can follow my patterns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see when we switched from adding to subtracting. I see when I typed in numbers instead of choosing them from the worksheet, right? So this formula view is a great way to be able to see what's going on in the background, to look at your patterns and make sure everything's lining up. I'm going to go ahead and click on that button again, or press Control tilde again to move back to my answer view. Okay, powerful stuff. Questions? All right. I'm going to make a new worksheet. Down at the bottom, I'm going to click on the plus sign. We can make a whole new book if you want. I'm going to zoom in a bit. I'm going to type a bunch of stuff, and if you're following along, feel free to abbreviate if you don't want to type the whole thing. Okay. Nobody can see it but you. Leave the typos, it's okay. All right, here in cell A1, I want big city store. In cell A1, big city store. Enter. Sales report. And I'm going to push enter 2 times. Enter, enter. I want my items, and I'm going to have 3 items. A, enter, B, enter, C, enter. Next to the items, I'm going to put in the price. The price for item A is going to be 123. 1, 2, 3, enter. Price for item B is going to be $456, 456, enter. Price for item C is going to be $789, 789, enter. Next to price, I want quantity, QTY, just abbreviating, making it short. I want this quantity for item A to be 987, 987. Quantity for item B, 654, 654. Quantity for item C, 321, 321. Make sure you did not have a dyslexic moment on me. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 987, 654, 321. Because I'm creative, all right? Hopefully your numbers match so that they'll match mine as we build our math, okay? Let's do a little bit of formatting. I'm going to use my right-click button. I'm going to right-click on row number 4 and choose bold. So I don't have to go back home, right? I'm going to right-click on column letter B, and I'm going to choose my little dollar sign. Cha-ching. Okay. I need column C now. If this toolbar is in your way, you can always hit escape and it will disappear. I want column C, and I want the third button here, the center button. Okay. That column can be a lot skinnier, right? So I'm going to go ahead and hit escape to get rid of that little box. Come between C and D and double click so it gets skinnier. Okay. Ready? It's all right if it doesn't match mine perfectly. The numbers are what's really important here. I'm looking for my subtotal. And the subtotal for item A, calculate equals. This will be the price for item A times the quantity for item A. Okay. So you said equal, and then I just clicked on the number. So it's not price up here, it's the price for A. It's on the same line, right? So this is actually cell B5 times C5. I'm multiplying the two numbers next to me. And 123 times 987 is $121,401. Cha-ching. I just haven't memorized. I can't do the math that fast. Okay, so I could do it here. This times this, and then this times this. There's only 3 of them. It's not a big deal. What if I had 300? This times this, this times this, this times this, this times this. Let me look at this equation. I see B5 times C5. But Microsoft Excel, when you build an equation, you're building a pattern that's relative to its location. So what we're actually doing here is we are multiplying the number that's 1, 2 away from it times the number that's right next to it. So the pattern says 2 away from me times right next to me. And what can I do with the pattern? I can fill it down. So from that corner, drag it down or double click to give me all 3. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. Yeah. In D2, I want tax rate. I'm going to tab over to jump to the next cell. 10%. All right, percent's above the number 5. It saves you from having to format it as a percentage. Just type it in there. And then I want my taxes. Okay. Multiplying the two numbers, multiplying the two numbers, multiplying the two numbers. It's beautiful. Boom, boom, boom. So in cell E2, I put 10%. That's going to be my tax rate, keeping a nice simple math. And here for my first taxes, this is only the taxes for item A. It's going to be item A subtotal times our tax rate. So building our equation, equal to calculate, item A subtotal times our tax rate. Not the word, but the value. So this is calculate D5 times E2. Okay, 10% is one of those easy ones. We move the decimal over one time. $12,140, 10 cents. Good. So again, my pattern should be subtotal times tax rate, subtotal times tax rate, subtotal times tax rate. Blah, blah, blah. So let's come to the corner and fill it down. And it didn't work. Let's go look at our formula view to find out why. On my formula tab, I'm coming into show formulas. And let's come back over here to column D for my tax rate is. So I'm coming down each line. I see the two numbers next to me, next to me, next to me. Bye, Lynn. But over here, it's the number next to me times the 1, 2, 3 above me. So the first one gave me the right answer, but the second one was times, and then, So what's the problem here? When we build our equation, we build it relative to our location. So it's this many away from me, this many away from me. So it's right to do the subtotal, subtotal, subtotal here. What's wrong is this number up at the top needs to stay in place. Let me go back to the answers. So turning off the show formula, coming back here. Okay. If you are getting hashtags, it's because your column is too skinny. Come between the letters and double click. Sometimes that happens when you change your zoom, right? So if you're getting the little hashtags here, just open that column up a bit. Let me erase these three. We're going to start over. Okay. I need it to be my subtotal, 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 all the way down, moving with me. But I need it to be tax rate, tax rate, tax rate, always staying up here in this cell. So here in cell E5, doing math, so I need my equals. And I want the number next to me times. Now I could type in 10% sign and that would work. But later when I make this 7%, I'm gonna have to fix all the equations and I don't wanna do that. So I do want this 10%. The thing is I need to force it to stay in place. I need to force it that if I copy or fill this formula, if I copy or fill this pattern, it will be forced to come back to that 10%. And I'm trying to say the word force forcefully to enforce the keyboard shortcut that's gonna force this into place for you. Now, if you have a full keyboard with all the function keys across the top, right, we should have a function key that says F4 on it. And if you push the F4 button, it will force this into place and it puts these little dollar signs in. Now, if you don't have an F4 or if it's not working, you can type in the dollar signs instead. This is not dollar sign cha-ching cash. These are little handcuffs, ka-clink, ka-clink. This is locking me into column E, locking me into row 2. So no matter where I copy or fill, it's absolute, it's forced to come back to that address, okay? Again, if you look at your keyboard, if you can't remember F4 to force, where is the dollar sign? Do you see it? It's on top of that 4, right? So it's still forcing this, either you type in the dollar signs or you use that button to put them in for me. So this equation now says the number next to me times E2. Go ahead and accept it and fill it down and peek at the formulas. Show formulas. Next to me times E2, next to me times E2, next to me times E2. Woohoo. Okay. So if that's an FT amount, if that's, a grade point bump, whatever this is, this value will stay at the top for me. Let me come back to my answers. All right. I need a total here in column F. The total for item A is going to be the addition of these two, right? Subtotal plus taxes. We do this one. Calculate the subtotal plus the taxes. D5 plus E5. So this pattern that I'm building is adding the two numbers next to it. When I move down, should both numbers move down with me? Yeah, so nothing here has to be forced into place because the patterns should move down every line. So when I accept it and I fill it down, boom, boom, boom. Hopefully you got the same answers as I did. In E8, Edgar 8, under my taxes, I'm going to type the word grand total. And here with my grand total, I'm ready for all of them. And I can say calculate this plus this plus this, right? No problem. What if I had 3,000 of them instead of 3 or 300 or 15, right? I don't want to say equals this plus this plus this plus this plus this. So if I'm adding a bunch of numbers together, another phrase for that is finding the sum, right? So you might be familiar from the Home tab, but it's also here on the Formula tab is my AutoSum button. So here in cell, where am I here? F8, I'm going to put my AutoSum button. And it's going to build this function. If you've not seen it before, in English, this says, calculate the sum of F5 through F7. Calculate the sum of F5 through F7. So working with equations across multiple worksheets, we have a linking class for that. Right? If I'm going to sum each column, that would be a different thing. But if I'm going to use these formulas in multiple sheets at the same time, or we would do, or linking them all together, there's a class called linking for that, okay? This is what I wanted for today, all right? So gorgeous. Hopefully you've got a better foundation of math inside Microsoft Excel. When you come back for Math 2 next week, we will pick up, we'll redo this worksheet, and then we'll build on it. We'll go deeper and deeper with it and find some other wonderful ways to be able to play with Microsoft Excel and the equations that it builds. Let's see. I want to thank you very much for joining me today. I hope that you come back and see me again and that you learn lots and retain most. Thanks.